In January 1901, a roaring column of oil shot 150 feet into the air at Spindletop Hill in Texas. That single moment did not just mark a business success, it signaled the birth of a new global order. But the story of oil began long before that dramatic gusher. In 1859, in Titusville, Pennsylvania, Edwin Drake drilled what is widely regarded as the first commercial oil well. What had once been a strange, sticky substance seeping from the ground became the fuel of modern civilization. By the late 19th century, oil had already begun reshaping economies. Kerosene replaced whale oil in lamps, lighting cities and homes. Then came the internal combustion engine. With the automobile revolution led by figures like Henry Ford in the early 20th century, oil was no longer just about illumination, it became the lifeblood of transportation. The invention of gasoline-powered cars transformed oil from a commodity into a necessity. As industrialization accelerated, militaries also adapted. Coal had powered navies in the 19th century, but oil proved lighter, more efficient, and capable of fueling faster ships and aircraft. In 1912, Winston Churchill, then First Lord of the Admiralty, made a strategic decision that would alter British policy for generations. He shifted the Royal Navy from coal to oil. That decision forced Britain to secure oil supplies beyond its shores, especially in Persia, modern-day Iran. The geopolitical scramble for oil had begun. During World War I and II, oil emerged as a decisive factor. Armies ran on trucks, tanks, and airplanes, machines that devoured fuel. Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union included a critical objective: the oil fields of the Caucasus. Japan's expansion into Southeast Asia was driven largely by its need for oil after the United States imposed an embargo. The attack on Pearl Harbor was, in part, a desperate gamble to secure access to energy resources. Wars were no longer only about territory or ideology, they were about energy survival. After 1945, a new order emerged. The United States became both the largest oil producer and consumer. Middle Eastern reserves, especially in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and Iran, were recognized as some of the largest and cheapest to extract. Western oil companies, often called the Seven Sisters, dominated production and pricing. Oil-rich states provided the resource, but foreign corporations and Western governments shaped the flow and profits. Then came a turning point. In 1960, major oil-producing countries formed OPEC in Baghdad. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries sought to reclaim control over pricing and production from Western oil giants. For the first time, producers coordinated to influence global markets. The true power of oil geopolitics became unmistakable in 1973. After the Yom Kippur War, Arab members of OPEC imposed an oil embargo against nations supporting Israel. Prices quadrupled. Gas stations in the United States ran dry. Inflation soared. The oil shock demonstrated that energy was not just an economic commodity, it was a political weapon. The balance of power shifted dramatically toward producing nations. Oil became crucial for survival because modern civilization is built upon it. Transportation systems, cars, planes, ships, depend heavily on petroleum products. Industries rely on it for plastics, chemicals, fertilizers, and pharmaceuticals. Even agriculture is intertwined with oil, from fuel for machinery to petroleum-based fertilizers. A disruption in oil supply does not merely raise fuel prices, it can paralyze supply chains, trigger inflation, and destabilize governments. Geopolitics evolved accordingly. Strategic choke points such as the Strait of Hormuz, the Suez Canal, and the Strait of Malacca became global flashpoints. Nearly a fifth of the world's oil passes through Hormuz, making it one of the most militarized waterways on Earth. Global naval fleets patrol sea lanes not for symbolism, but to secure energy lifelines. The Gulf War of 1990 to 1991 is often cited as a textbook case of oil geopolitics. When Iraq invaded Kuwait, it threatened control over a vast portion of global reserves. The US-led coalition intervened, officially to defend sovereignty and international law, but underlying economic realities were clear. Control of oil fields meant influence over global energy markets and, by extension, the global economy itself. In 2003, the US invasion of Iraq reignited the debate. While the official justification centered on weapons of mass destruction and security concerns, critics argued that Iraq's vast oil reserves were a strategic consideration. Whether oil was the primary motive or one among several, it is impossible to separate Middle Eastern geopolitics from petroleum. At the same time, new powers rose. China's economic boom in the late 20th and early 21st centuries dramatically increased global demand. Beijing began investing heavily in African and Middle Eastern oil fields, building pipelines and port infrastructure. Energy security became central to China's Belt and Road Initiative. The competition was no longer just between Western powers and producers, it became a complex global chessboard involving the United States, China, Russia, and regional powers. Russia, another energy giant, wields oil and gas as tools of influence. European dependence on Russian energy has repeatedly shaped diplomatic decisions. Energy pipelines became instruments of leverage, particularly during conflicts involving Ukraine. When energy supplies are threatened, political calculations shift rapidly. Financial markets also evolved around oil. The petrodollar system, where global oil transactions are largely conducted in US dollars, strengthened the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. This financial arrangement allowed the United States to maintain significant economic influence. Thus, oil is not only pumped from the ground, it circulates through banks, stock exchanges, and sovereign wealth funds. However, oil power comes with volatility. Price shocks, whether in 1973, 1979 during the Iranian Revolution, or in more recent supply disruptions, have triggered global recessions. Countries dependent on oil exports often suffer from the resource curse, where wealth concentrates in elites while economies remain undiversified. Meanwhile, importing nations grapple with inflation and political pressure when prices spike. Today, the geopolitics of oil exists in tension with climate change. Renewable energy technologies are expanding, and global agreements aim to reduce fossil fuel consumption. Yet despite green transitions, oil still powers the majority of global transportation. Even electric vehicles depend indirectly on oil-based plastics and supply chains built on petroleum. Why, then, do global powers fight for oil? Because oil is more than fuel, it is leverage. It fuels armies, economies, industries, and financial systems. Whoever controls oil flows can influence markets, alliances, and outcomes of conflicts. Energy security has become synonymous with national security. From the dusty drilling rigs of 19th-century Pennsylvania to the vast deserts of Saudi Arabia, from the oil tankers crossing strategic straits to diplomatic summits in global capitals, oil has shaped the modern world. It has financed development and sparked wars. It has enriched nations and destabilized regions. It has dictated alliances and fueled rivalries. In the end, the battle for oil reflects a fundamental reality: modern civilization is energy-intensive. Until a full transition to alternative energy sources occurs, if it ever fully does, oil will remain at the center of global power politics. The struggle is not simply about barrels and pipelines, it is about survival, prosperity, and dominance in an interconnected world. As history shows, whenever a resource becomes essential to economic survival and military strength, competition follows. Oil became that resource in the 20th century. And as long as the global system runs on black gold, global powers will continue to maneuver, negotiate, and, when they deem it necessary, fight.